Call the meeting to order. It's 6:30. And so 6:30 on Monday, September the 26th. And this is the regular monthly meeting of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal Municipal Council. And just before getting to approval of the agenda, I just want to make note of the fact that today will be a very historic day. At 7:14 tonight during our meeting, the DART project will crash what's basically a rocket into an asteroid a couple of 100 million miles from Earth. And the intent of the project is to see if the collision will have the effect of sending the asteroid off its course. And of course, this is a very important test for NASA, because what they're trying to determine is whether, in the case of an asteroid that's about to strike Earth, it could be knocked off its path and avoid the collision. So just some little bit of trivia prior to the meeting. So with that, the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor John Hunter, that Municipal Council approves the agenda as presented.
And I believe this agenda, now, I didn't get an update of the agenda, but do we have a delegation or presentation this evening?
So through the chair, in place update agendas on.
Okay, so maybe I just,
Don't mind.
Under 4A.
That, the only change is 4A, but you can have mine. I can use the other one. Everything else is
is it on my desk here? Oh, anyway, all right, it's on the agenda. So those in favor? The motion is carried. So then we'll go to item number 3 on the agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this evening?
none by me.
Okay, and so now I can proceed then to the delegations and the presentations. And so Mr. Tim Mason from Armstrong Road is making the presentation. So Tim, you're on.
Thanks. You're good.
Sorry, I'm back again.
Welcome.
I'll try not to be as preachy as I was last time. So yeah, I'm here again to speak about, today about the resolution today with respect to the $17,100 for a hot patching in Armstrong. I'd just like to make sure that as far as I'm aware, all the residents are very much in favor of the resolution. And so very happy to see that as a first step taken of the road. But then there's a bunch of follow-up questions that come out of this and where we're headed. And so I guess just with respect to the proposal for the hot patching, I don't know if there's a mechanism for the residents to be informed, but there certainly are questions with respect to the hot patching plan. And so we're assuming that because we're considering the money, that there's probably a fair bit of work that's already been done to determine the extent of the hot patching, what kind of area that hot patching can cover with $17,100. We're still curious if there's been any sort of movement forward on the notion of having an expert on roads come in to discuss the issues with the road and what the nature of those problems are, and whether or not, for instance, there's been any specific areas of the road that have been designated as the areas that would be repaired by the hot patching. So a few details just with respect to the hot patching plan, something that the residents should be very much interested in. We talked a little bit about communication last time, and it was a minor point, but I think in this case, I don't know if there is a mechanism in place for this, but I'd be happy to act as a liaison with the residents if there's someone, say, if staff or someone else could communicate some of these details to us. I'd be happy to pass those on to the residents for them, if that's something that we can arrange. But just thinking in terms of making sure the residents understand that there are plans going forward and comfortable with the direction intersection. That would be great. That's one aspect. Just going back to the resolution, it also mentions in there that there's directions for staff to investigate alternative options. And if you look at, I wasn't at, unfortunately, the committee of the whole that occurred recently, and looking at the minutes, it seems like there was only one suggestion, which was to allocate the $17,100 to hot patch, but no other discussion about the road in the general sense. So no, I know when I was here before, I was talking about long-term plans and having a better understanding of the issue, and then coming up with a long-term plan that to figure out how to deal with it. So I'm still a little concerned that we've got this 17,100 that will be discussed this evening, but beyond that, there doesn't seem to be any other discussion with respect to the road. And I think one of the issues is that the reason we're concerned in particular is that the road kind of falls into a bit of a limbo area. The latest gravel study just done in 2021 doesn't include it because obviously it's not a gravel road. So there's really no place where it fits into the plan in terms of remediation. So that's a bit of a concern, and we're hoping that there's some way to move forward without losing sight of the fact that it's a problem still. So that's one thing. Long term, obviously, we would like to see the road considered for full paving, just because of the nature of the traffic that we see on that road. But that obviously is, subject to some more in-depth understanding of the issues and determination of the path forward. But that all requires planning. So just really would like to see a little bit more either transparency or effort into planning, or at least figure out how Armstrong is going to fit into that without disappearing off people's radar. Yeah, I'm reading off of this because I keep spending time in this reading on this. But we did want to recognize that the short to medium term plan of hot patching the road and maintaining it is one that I think is acceptable. So I think for the short term to the medium term, it's based on what we've seen with the hot patches and the durability. I think this would really help us move the problem out to a point where hopefully we have a more clear plan in place for the future of the road. And I guess I'm reading my own writing here now, trying to I want to get this in the right order because I don't want to shock you. Yeah, so I guess forgetting what I've got there. The question is, how much will the 17,100 cover of the existing problem? So if it's 10% fair, if it's 25% better, but I guess what I would propose or put forward is the notion that there would be some sort of an allocation of funding to repeat this hot patching, perhaps on a yearly basis at the same level of funding or something similar, so that over a period of several years, hopefully we can get to the point where there's no longer any potholes that require maintenance by the township. Obviously, we know that the township has struggled to maintain that road. And I think it's in everyone's interest that we shift from a road that requires ongoing cold patching to one that will stand up for a number of years. So I think what I put forward is this notion that, if it's 25% of the road that's going to be covered over a 4-year period, putting a similar, fairly small relative to, paving costs budget aside for Armstrong Road would convert it to a road that no longer is a maintenance problem for the township. So that would be something I hope you guys would consider, people would consider, because it's helping everyone.
I just want to see how ask the clerk how we're doing for time. 2 minutes, 1 minute.
In a minute.
8 minutes. Okay. No, I'll just say that I think residents probably understand, although I'm not sure everyone's aware that this plan is being put forward for the hot patching. So I think at this point in time, obviously, there's no coal patching that should be done because no one knows, what's going to be covered in the upcoming months with hot patches. But once that has been determined, I think one thing that's really important is to understand that we would really expect a much higher level of attention being paid to maintaining those remaining issues on the road. So the coal patching, I think, has to be done better in order to stop the calls from coming. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, so, so first of all, thank you for the presentation, and I just want to make sure that I've captured that. I don't want to get into a question and answer period here on this right now, because we do have the action item coming up under item 8C, and perhaps you raised a number of issues that will be covered during the council table discussion. But as I see it, you've indicated what is the plan, where are the patches, how much coverage will occur, and then what are the alternative options. And so we'll just let it go at that, unless you have highlighted other main points that I've missed. And I'll, as the discussion proceeds at item 8C, I'll try to direct the discussion towards those three items if I've captured them all.
I think so. The only other one I think is, I think a fair bit of concern is how do we ensure that the long-term plan doesn't disappear, because there doesn't seem to be a place for it to live within the contract. Unless it's just another.
Okay, well, that's a different kind of issue, because, I'll just deal with that just here, because I don't think it'll come up under that discussion, but our basic plan is a 5 and 10 year plan. And I think you referred to the fact that you already saw the results of the survey that was done in 2021. We just got that at our Public Works meeting last week, I think it was. And it kind of laid out what our priorities should be for the next 5-year term. Meeting those priorities will be a major challenge, because those are all capital issues. And the capital that was recommended in that 5-year plan is going to stretch us to the limit. But then in addition to the capital, we also have the ongoing maintenance, which is dealt with in our operations budget. So I think we can talk more about that later, but the staff prepares an operations budget and a work plan that goes with that operations budget, and that sort of informs the dollars that go into the operations budget. But that operations budget again has to cover the entire township, and we've got something like 2,000 kilometers of roads to cover. Okay, so if I've captured your major issues, we'll deal with it. We'll get to the meat of them, I think, when we get to the discussion of 8C. So thank you for your presentation. And then there is a spot on the agenda if you want to raise additional questions at item number 15. Thanks. Okay, so then moving on, I'm at item number 5 on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous council meeting, which was held on August the 22nd. Dr. Mayor, I think you have that motion. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor John Hunter, the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the regular council meeting dated August 22nd, 2022.
Okay, motion is on the floor. Are there any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, and now I'll proceed to item number 6, which is any business arising from those minutes. And so does anybody have any business arising? I see no hands going up for business arising.
Just one quick question.
Okay, that is business arising. Go ahead.
Yeah, through you to the CAO. So just under the
Page reference.
and there are 3 of 102, and it is. Oh, well, I mean, it's talking about the new zoning bylaw, so I'm just going to ask if we have heard anything back yet in relation to meeting date for LPAT.
So through the mayor, we have not received a case management conference date as of right now.
Any communication at all?
I would anticipate that within the next a week or so, we should at least have a date set.
I want to just pursue that just a little bit further. What is the feeling of our legal counsel? Is that date anticipated to be close or far? Does he have any kind of insights as to when that might occur? Because it is holding up a number of projects, people waiting for various zoning bylaw amendments, etc.
Yes, through the mayor. From my last conversation with legal, he anticipated that usually those turnaround dates for those for those conference calls are relatively quick, but indicating relatively quick with it. With the OLT, we may be looking at another month or so.
So it's relatively quick with a government flavor. Okay, well, let's wait. Let's not make a mountain out of a molehill until we get an actual date, and then we'll see what it looks like. Any further business arising from those minutes? Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'm about to proceed then to item number 7 on the agenda, which is the approval of various committee meeting minutes for meetings that occurred during the past month. And the first is the Court Management Committee of August the 17th, Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Dishon, to council received the minutes of the Port Management Committee meeting dated August 17th, 2022.
Thank you very much. The minutes are on the floor. Questions, if any? Errors or omissions? Discussion? Hearing none, the vote to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. The minutes are accepted as presented. And proceeding onward, item number 7B, the Committee of the Whole meeting Administration and Finance of September the 12th, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Hugh Cannon. This fellow council claims October 1st and 2nd as Ontario Cadets Week in the Township of Ravensburg. Cars.
17th during the week.
No, sorry. And here is my finance. I'm sorry, people. No, sorry, it's in the clear.
Because maybe the others should just look at their packages in case it's got misplaced.
I don't have it here.
This is the councillor is looking for the
7B.
the motion to approve the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of the administration.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, right here, moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Cameron, that this fellow council receives and approves the minutes of Committee of the Whole Administration Finance meeting dated September 12th, 2022.
Very good, thank you. All right, the minutes are on the floor. Discussion, if any? Questions, if any? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question before the chair. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Those minutes are accepted as presented. We're moving now then to item number 8C, which is the Committee of the Whole meeting, Public Works Environmental Services of September the 19th. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities dated September 19, 2022.
Okay, and now I just want to check something. Okay, so minutes are on the table here. Questions, if any? Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Vote to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Right, now then I can proceed to item number 8A, which is the proposed federal electoral boundary changes. And Deputy Mayor Dishon, I think you have that motion.
It's a full page worth. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor John Hunter. Whereas the Electoral Boundaries Readjustment Act notes that as soon as possible, after the completion of each decennial census, the chief statistician prepares and sends the relevant population figures to the minister designed by the governor and council as the minister for the purposes of the Electoral Boundaries Readjustment Act, and to the chief electoral officer who is responsible for the administration of federal elections. And whereas on the first dissolution of parliament that occurs at least 7 months after the day the new representation order for the provinces is proclaimed, the proposed electoral boundary changes will be in effect. And whereas the province of Ontario enacted electoral districts whose names and boundaries are identical to those of federal electoral districts following the 2012 Federal Electoral District Boundaries Commission for Ontario, with the exception of 13 districts in Northern Ontario. And whereas proposed federal electoral boundary changes to create voter parity across Ontario may greatly impact the current district of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes. And whereas the communities that are within the United Counties of Leeds, Grenville, including the single-tier municipalities of Brockville, Gananoque, and Prescott, boundaries ought to remain united. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Municipal Council of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal supports and endorses Mayor Sayo to represent Municipal Council and the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal through the official feedback and or attending and participating in public hearings with the Federal Electoral Boundaries Commission.
Thanks very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Discussed in the committee meetings, probably not much discussion tonight. Those in favor? Motion is carried. I will just report that there has been some difficulty getting registered to participate in the hearing. You're always allowed to, of course, provide written presentations. But in this particular case, the registration was an online mechanism. And I tried about 15 times over the weekend to get registered, and for some reason it wouldn't accept the email addresses. There was a field that required an email address. I put in each of my email addresses 5 times each separately. 10 times I tried this thing. It wouldn't take it. And then there was an email address to apply to if you were having difficulty registering. So I did that on Saturday, and as of tonight, I still haven't heard any answer to that. So I've got the clerk at the United Counties trying to get me registered, and most of the other mayors at the United Counties have gotten themselves registered. So I'm proceeding on then to item number 8B, which is the National Day for Truth and Recreation Paid Holiday Resolution, motion. Councillor Hunter, please.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Dishon, that the Municipal Council recognize the federal statutory holiday, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation as a paid holiday in 2022 for all municipal employees, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Okay, and the motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? No discussion.
Still just want to add just the comment that I did before, and I mean, it's not a full national holiday. I know it's a unionized holiday for the township, and I know the argument's been made that if it's a union holiday that everyone should get it. But I still struggle as a resident and as a business owner that the government's getting, you know, another holiday, while those that pay the taxes don't. And for Truth and Reconciliation, it just seems counterintuitive to me to be taking that for a holiday, and unless there's some sort of an educational requirement or a commitment to actually learning or doing something for Truth and Reconciliation. So I struggle with this one.
And I think that sentiment was expressed by other members during the committee meeting. But if I can, just a quick question to the CAO. I believe the date is September the 30th. Is that correct?
I think yes, that is correct.
And municipal offices will be closed that day then?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And this is a kind of a one-time thing because it's a clause in our collective agreement which gives the federally proclaimed National Day for Truth and Reconciliation a paid holiday to those covered by our collective agreements. And of course, our staffs are not covered by the collective agreement, so that's what gives rise to this motion. So I'm about to call the question on the motion. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And so now I'm going to item number 8C, and Mr. Nason, I'll try to get your points out here. So item number 8C is the Armstrong Road funding allocation. Councillor Hunter, put the motion on the floor, please.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Edition, whereas the following passage of resolution number 2022-275, members of the public that are directly impacted by the municipal council decision voice their concerns by the delegation respecting the Armstrong Road surface remediation project to council at the regular meeting held on August 22nd, 2022. And whereas during the regular meeting of council held on August 22nd, 2022, municipal council rescinded the resolution number 2022-275 Armstrong Roads surface remediation and directed staff to investigate alternate options. And now therefore be it resolved that the municipal council dedicate $17,100 allocated for public works reserve to hot patching along Armstrong Road in 2022.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor up for discussion, and because of the delegation, I'm gonna entertain some discussion here now then. And just want to go back to the notes I made. So I'm not going to pose Mr. Nason's questions over again. I'll let other members of council do that. And so the floor is open for discussion here. I'm hoping that other members of council will pick up on the delegation's request. There were, I thought I captured three main themes here.
Well, I'll go. I
Yes.
never shy to go first. Certainly, in relation to communication, when this was very first brought forward, I struggled with the lack of communication. So communicating the plan to the residents for what was expected, I don't see why that should be a problem. I think if that's one of the questions that you had, of course we need better communication. As far as the roads expert, I think that this is a stopgap that gets us and buys us time until we can get that full plan. That full plan, obviously, new roads plan will have to be done by the next council. It's not anything that we're going to solve here tonight. I mean, this is all we're gonna do tonight. The next council is going to be the one that has to have it on their agenda, has to move it forward, whoever that may be. So, I'm all in favor of making, the patchwork, the work to get us through this season and hopefully, through the spring of next year and to get a fulsome roads report done so that it does encompass a road like Armstrong in it and it gives us a plan for capital replacements.
Okay, so I think the nub, thank you very much. I think the nub of the issue here is the $17,100. And if I recall correctly, I think the staff had put out a quotation to see what amount of hot patching could be purchased for $17,100. So to the CAO, do we have an answer to that question yet?
Through the mayor, yeah, that quotation was issued. We do have a response back, and the Cornwall Gravel was the low bidder. I'm not 100% sure of the exact tonnage with respect to Armstrong Road. But I'll maybe ask the director of operations if he might be able to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Certainly, to the CEO of the chair. The quote came in from Cornwall Gravel that, for Armstrong Road was $186 per ton. That equates to about 90 tons for that amount of money, and Public Works manager estimates to be about a kilometer of coverage. Some of that may vary because of the depths of ruts and so forth, but we're looking at putting a 25 millimeter 1 inch surface on that.
On a continuous run,
Yes.
that's not patching.
Public Works manager looked at it and felt that the best bet would be to go with starting on the corners. Because the corners are narrow, so they're less than the Ontario standard width for lanes. So we start on those corners and go towards 21. And then if there's left over, he would come back and head direction again towards rocks.
So one of the questions that was raised by the delegation had to do with communication. So is there any way of communicating to the delegation and the folks he represents where those patches will occur? I think that their interest here has been well flagged, and I think what they're looking for is some sort of a communication from council as to what exactly are you going to do here. So at this point, do we have anything that we can give them other than that we're going to spread 90 tons of hot mix someplace on the road? And we identified priority areas. That, I think that kind of thing is what they're looking for. Not trying to put words in his mouth, but just going from the notes that I made while he was talking.
To the chair, the priority area identified by the Public Works manager was those corners. It narrowed to less than 3 meters. And that's not OPS standard for roadway. So that was the starting point, and to head towards County Road 21, and then there's additional material left over to come back and go from the two 45 corners and go to the towards Crowder Road.
Is there any way that concept could be reduced to some sort of a drawing or diagram that we could circulate?
Certainly.
Okay, I think that would go a long way to addressing the issues that were raised by the delegation. Go ahead.
It would have to be done through the chair fairly quickly. The paving was set to begin for Cedar Road today, although the weather kind of put a stop on that. So we'd be looking towards the end of the week, probably to be starting.
So basically what I'm trying to figure out how to address the concerns raised here. If you're talking about the work on Cedar Grove Road, can the jobs be sequenced in such a way that Cedar Grove Road, the work commences on Cedar Grove Road while the communication device that we're going to use is prepared and circulated? I think I heard Mr. Nason say that he'd be prepared to communicate with his neighbors. And I think if we could provide him with something, maybe we could take him up on that offer.
Through the chair, that is the plan, is to start with Cedar Grove Road. The time to finish Cedar Grove is estimated to be about half a day or so. I don't expect it would be, and then to move on to some other patching and Armstrong last. So I think we would have time to work with that.
Okay, so I'm just going to let it go there because I think we have a mechanism for a communications plan, and Mr. Nason will get an opportunity to express additional questions at item number 15 on the agenda if we haven't covered the gist of his original presentation to the fullest. So I think with that, I think I can call the question here.
No.
Okay, sorry. Yes, well,
Yes.
sorry.
Thank
Didn't mean
you.
to cut off.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not real familiar with Armstrong Road. I don't drive it a whole lot. But I just hope we're not going off in the wrong direction here because my recollection of Armstrong Road was not the corners and the ends, but more towards the middle where patching should be done. I thought in fact, I thought we made the comment the day that we met the citizens on Armstrong Road that the 21 end of the road was in pretty darn good shape. But further towards the middle of Armstrong Road seemed to be broken up quite badly.
In patches.
In patches, and I can see laying down approximately a kilometer, but in maybe half a kilometer for one patch and maybe half a kilometer for another patch or broken up in such. I just hope that we're not building something that or starting something that is going to snowball and I just think that the center of between the two concessions will say I think the corners are in reasonable shape. They may not be perfect and the road may not be to specifications, but I really do think that the middle section is the roughest and the part that's causing most trouble. So I certainly hope we look at this in a fix-it manner and go from there.
I see another couple of hands going up, so I'll take Councillor Dillawa, then I think Mr. Shaw wants back in, and then we'll go to Councillor Hunter. Just
Yeah, I guess, through the chair, I wonder if the advisable maybe that our roads manager would meet with Mr. Mason down there before we start, so he can bring it back to the people on that road to show him exactly what we're doing. I mean, we're just all guessing, patching here, patching there. And we really don't know what his plans are. I think that would be really good. And the operation manager, Mr. Lloyd Shaw, and the roads manager put together with Mr. Mason, because we went through this. I mean, our last meeting that we had a resolution, we're gonna give them 17,100, and then we rescind it. But we didn't have to rescind it. We didn't even have to have Mr. Mason really talk here because it was over 17,100. It's going to be brought up in 2023 to exactly bring forward in our budget what we're going to do with Armstrong. So I think the best spot or best start is to have roads manager and Mr. Shaw meet with Mr. Mason and show them what we're going to do and see. It's my 2 cents.
Mr. Shaw, you're next, and then Councillor Hunter.
Please, thank you, Mr. Chair. One other thought from the Public Works Manager in regard to doing that section was that feels that the section of road from Rock to County Road 21 is probably the most traveled portion of the road. That was another reason for his thoughts there.
Councillor Hunter.
Well, I drive this road all the time. I'm sure Tim's gonna agree. The worst part of the road is from the schoolhouse corner down around in front of those houses that broke up in 4 or 5 different spots. Bad corners are away completely, half gone on pretty near on one side of them. I was with the road manager when he drove it and looked at the road and checked it, and that is by far the worst part of the road. It is the heaviest traffic road because you get both the cross traffic coming from Crowder Road coming across, plus you get all the traffic that cuts across Rock Street and comes down and join there, and that's double traffic from there out. We looked at it, and I would think that it's probably all of the worst potholes are going to get covered from there down around the 21. Like there's 4 real bad spots that I tried to get coal patches up thing about cold patch is cold patch won't stay in a chip and seal road, because there's no depth to the road to bond. The pothole's gotta have a depth for hot patch or cold patch to set in. If you're just patching a hole, you gotta have a certain amount of side boards, as we call it, for it to stay in there. You've only got an inch, it's not gonna stay in, there's nothing to hold it. So, see, this is the part that he estimated the worst, and I agree with him, that is the worst part of the road.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't want to get down in the weeds here. I think what we're hearing is, I mean, we're at a council meeting and these kinds of things should be discussed at a committee level. But I think what we're hearing around the table is that, as governors, we're looking for the effective and efficient use of financial resources here to have the biggest bang on the road for the next foreseeable future. Are there other speakers to the motion before I call the question on the motion?
I guess, I'm just gonna go one more quick one. I mean, hearing everybody's opinion on what part's the worst and all that sort of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, it is, I mean, paving roads and picking the spot to do it is the staff's function. It's not my job to tell the staff where to pave. I mean, I know we want to take care of the road. I know we want to do it, but we have to let the people that work here in the township understaffed actually do their job and stop micromanaging.
I think that point is well made. But the problem is we don't have a civil engineer on staff, and I wish we had. I don't know what expertise we were able to bring to bear on this particular issue in terms of civil engineering, but to my mind, to get the most effective and efficient use of money, you need the professionals that can know the background here and determine the most effective usage and where it's best placed. But that's not for this discussion here this evening, because basically what we're doing here is allocating $17,100 from the Public Works Reserve to hot patching along Armstrong Road. And I'm about to call the question on the motion. Those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you. And I'm moving on then to item number 8B, which is the Carmichael Municipal Consent Request update. And we do have an update here in the form of a briefing note. And the essence of the briefing note is that Mr. Carmichael has withdrawn his letter. Now, what we don't have, and I guess it would have helped, but the actual letter from Mr. Carmichael, do we have the actual document on them in the municipal records?
Through the mayor in this review.
Okay, thank you. So the essence of this briefing note is that the request has been withdrawn. Is that correct then, Mr. Grant?
Through the mayor, that is correct. It was pretty brief. We just basically wanting to revoke that application that was submitted.
Okay, so Councillor Cameron, you have the motion to bring this to full circle at the council table.
I do, Mr. Mayor, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council receives and reviews the Carmichael Municipal Consent Request Update Report.
Okay, so that indicates that we've seen this report. I'm about to call a question on this motion unless there's discussion events.
One question.
Go ahead.
Do we expect to see Mr. Carmichael back again? Did he, through the chair, did he indicate that he was coming back again to request this? It seemed like something that he really wanted to get done.
Through the mayor, he did not indicate whether he would be returning to committee and council.
Said no, and that was good.
Okay. At this particular stage, yes.
Okay.
But just one thing to highlight from the report is that the cost estimate to install the cross culvert was $3,556 odd, and so that's basically the quantum that was under discussion here. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'm about to call the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And so now I'm under 8E, the proclamation of Ontario Cadets Week, Councillor Gillabon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron. The Municipality Council proclaims October 1st to the 7th, 2022, the Ontario Cadets Week in the Township of Riverside. Really excited about that.
We did. A new initiative apparently from the province, discussion with any, hearing none, those in favor. Motion is carried. And that gets me to item number 9 on the agenda, which is the correspondence packages, and Councillor Cameron, I believe you have that that motion.
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter. That municipal council receives the correspondence listing for the following dates as previously circulated. August 24th, 2022, September 1st, 2022, September 9th, 2022, September 21st, 2022.
Thank you very much. So all these correspondence packages were circulated, and one thing that I apologize, I don't know whether I've got it in my mayor's report or not, but I'll leave it until then and hope that I've covered it. Any discussion with these correspondence packages? Hearing none, vote to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. All right, now then I'm on item number 10, which is the approval of the municipal disbursement sheets. And Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor John Hunter that municipal council approves payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated August 30th, 2022-117 in the amount of $142,019.30. Report dated August 30th, 2022-118 in the amount of $53,248.60. Report dated September 1st, 2022-121 in the amount of $2,486.18. Report dated September 14th, 2022-122, $162,762.09. Report dated September 16th, 2022-123, $209,331.06. Report dated September 21st, 2022-124, $312,006.19 for a total of $881,853.42.
Okay, thank you very much. The disbursement sheets were circulated with the agenda package on Friday afternoon. Everybody's had an opportunity to review them, and if possible, ask questions of staff. Are there any questions remaining for staff this evening? I see two, Councillor Cameron and Councillor Gillabon. Councillor Cameron, you had your hand up first.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like, I just have 3 or 4 inquiries, and really what they are inquiries. I'm not questioning anything here. And the first one is on page 47, and it regards to clean water work, Helen Street. It's quite a sizable amount, and I'm just wondering what that is for. It says PB number 1. I'd just like to get clarification on what that's all about.
So through from the mayor, from the chair to the CAO to the treasurer, yes.
It's CIP, it's a part of our capital projects, CIP mining for Helen Street.
That's fine for me, Mr. Mayor. My other question is on page 48, and it's regarding the Island City training and service, which is the bylaw enforcement. I see the cost here is different, I believe, from last month. Has there been an increase on the contract, or is there something added here? And then through the chair to the treasurer.
Certainly through the chair, the bylaw officer, has a 10 hour a week, but, he also has travel time, so if he's not, part of that is mileage to travel around. So it's embedded in that sense of that fee, so he's probably just that much busier, during that month.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Okay, so
you.
it varies depending on the mileage.
Mileage and, like some months, he hasn't always used a full 10 hours because he's had other obligations where he's not been able to commit that time to the township.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. And I have one more, which is on page 53, right at the top of the list. Almost $7,000 spending on a weather app. I'd just like clarification. What does this app actually do for us? I know it's handled through Public Works, but just what does the app do that a normal chain of weather events wouldn't do?
Okay, so not a financial question.
It's not really, it's just more, this is what I'm asking, I mean, I can go to my phone and I know what the weather is for the next 10 days. What does this app do that my phone doesn't?
So,
If someone could
I'm just
fill
trying to
me in
think,
on that.
I'm trying to think of the best way to handle a question, because it may be something that requires more of an in-depth discussion at a Public Works Committee, but maybe we can get a quick sort of answer, Mr. Grant, through the operations manager.
Through the CEO to the chair, this app is an application for the road patrols. And it is a means of showing due diligence that we're meeting the Ontario provincial standards for doing road patrols. So it's a cloud-based application that goes through a cell phone and is in the patrol vehicles that monitors their patrols.
Okay, so I'm assuming that it records mileages and times and road conditions and things like that. Is that correct? Because it's called a weather app, but
Is that correct? That's correct. Road temperatures.
does that get to the minutes?
Yes, it does, and Mr. Mayor, I do think that I'd like a little more information, that I can get that at a Public Works meeting sometime in the future. It doesn't have to be, certainly tonight, it's just I'm very curious about this, and with Mr. Shaw's explanation there, I feel that we're protect liability, we're protected with this as well. So that could be well worked right there, but perhaps a little more information as time goes on.
Okay,
And I have just one more question, and it's on page 54. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th heading down. It's a check for $50, and it's, I'm not going to mention the individual, but it says medical reason refunding. Just curious about that situation. What would be the refunding medical reasons?
Through the chair to Councilor Cannon, one of our individuals that has registered for the aerobics class, after filling out the online medical form, decided that it was in her best interest not to attend the class.
okay, so she paid as she registered.
That is correct.
Thank you so much. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and I think Councilor Dillabaugh, you were next.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just have a couple, just for my own information. I should have phoned in, but I didn't have time today. Page 42. About Black Dog Tire Craft, Morrisburg. Public Works forefront tires. Is that one of our snow plows? Is it a pickup? I just want
So through the chair,
clarification on that to the CEO. Through the chair to the CEO.
To the CEO, to the chair, I believe that is for the Idaho.
Second question?
Yes, and that's on page 43. G. Tackleberry and Sons, we're talking about Public Works again, coal patch. I don't know if our treasurer can do that, but you know, we spent $3,800 on coal patch. Where, like what street or whatever it is? I just like if we could get a little clarification on that, do the chair maybe.
Okay,
to the
so
treasurer.
maybe I'll just
If we can
ask
do
the
it.
treasurer. The treasurer just sees the invoice to.
Through the chair, certainly we do see the invoice. The patching is in various locations, and even if we were to break it out, it only really shows the one description. So, you know, like, within the disbursements, it's very difficult to itemize the road that it's used on.
Good, thank you.
So we buy that mostly for stock and it just goes out as where and as required. Correct.
Right.
Okay. Now, are there any other questions with the disbursement sheet before I call the motion before the chair? Okay, I'm about to call the motion, and where is it? It's right here. Those in favor? Aye. Yes, motion is carried. Thank you. All right, now, that gets me, I think, to item number 11 on the agenda, which is the bylaws. And we do have a number of bylaws coming forward this evening. Again, for the benefit of the folks in the gallery, these issues have all been quite thoroughly discussed at the committee levels. And as a result of the discussion that takes place at the committee level, that these bylaws come forward tonight for the formality of the decisions being given bylaw status. So the first is 11A, the Ontario OILC borrowing bylaw. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by John Hunter that the mover be granted to leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize certain new capital drainage works for the township of Riversburg County, to authorize the submission of an application to Ontario Infrastructure of Lands Corporation for finance and new capital works, and to authorize temporary borrowing from OILC to meet the expenditures in connection with all such capital works, and to authorize a long-term borrow for such capital works to the issues of the debentures to the OILC. And this shall constitute the first, second reading thereof.
Okay, and so before I call the question here, I just want to get one thing clear in my mind, because we did discuss this at committee level. So the intent of this bylaw really is to provide what we call construction financing through to the end of the construction period. And this bylaw anticipates that we will finance certain portions of the works through our other means of financing, but it anticipates that the total project will have about a $3,536,000 cost. And after we've used our other sources, at the end of the projects, we will be looking to borrow approximately $1,894,000, not to exceed that. So from the chair to the treasurer, have I got that part correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's exactly correct, yeah.
Right now, so basically, this gets us our interim financing, but it also authorizes the issue of a debenture at the end in that $1,894,000. But there is a provision that we can finance that residual from other sources within a period of time. And I think if I recall correctly, the period of time was 120 days.
Certainly, and the other thing that the township does have the option for is, so with the construction financing, we place a request in for reimbursement of the costs associated with the project as we incur them. So if we've only, I think to date, we've only incurred about $380,000 on the Spencerville drainage project thus far in terms of one progress payments. If we get to the point where sometime in 2023, we can build more money into the budget to accommodate funding some of that project in the 2023 budget, that 1.8 can certainly be reduced. But if we get to that end of the full project and we still need to borrow, we can borrow from OILC within 120 days. We can pay it off and borrow from another funding source.
Okay. All right, and so I'm now about to call the question on first and second reading of this bylaw. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, so it's carried unanimously on first and second reading. You can proceed then to third reading.
Moved by myself and seconded by John Hunter that the bylaw to authorize certain new capital drainage works of the township of Riversburg and Cardinal and to authorize the submission of applications to Ontario Infrastructure Land Corporation for financing new capital works and to authorize temporary borrowing from OILC to meet those expenditures in connection with all such capital works, to authorize long-term borrow such as capital works to the issue of the debentures to OILC, and we now read the third time finally passed signed seal number 2022-59.
Okay, calling the question on third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. I'll mark it unanimous as well. And so that puts the interim financing in place. So now item number 11B, the 2022 municipal election. Appoint the joint compliance audit committee. Councillor Dillabaugh, you have that one too.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and moved by myself and seconded by John Hunter that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to establish a point the joint Leeds Grenville Compliance Audit Committee for 2022 to 2026 term for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. And this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
Okay, thank you very much. And just for the sake of the folks in the gallery, we will be appointing Mr. Andy Brown, Mr. Mel Campbell, Mr. John Dixon, Diane Merkley, Anthony Vachon, and Nigel White to the joint Leeds Grenville Compliance Audit Committee. And this is first and second reading of that bylaw. Further discussion, if any? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried, and it is carried unanimously. So the bylaw can proceed to third reading, please.
Thank you. That's moved by myself and seconded by John Hunter that the bylaw to establish a point the joint Leeds Grenville Compliance Audit Committee for the 2022 to 2026 term for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. We now read a third time finally passed signed seal and number 2022-60.
Thank you very much. Calling the question on third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving then to item number 11C, which is the River Route Transit Partnership Agreement. Councillor Dillabaugh, you have that one.
Not great, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by John Hunter that the mover be granted leave to introduce the bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the River Route Transit Service Partnership Agreement. And this shall constitute first, second reading thereof.
Okay, thank you very much. And just again, for the sake of the folks in the gallery, this agreement will cover the period from April the 1st of 2022 to March the 31st of 2023. So we're already more than halfway into the term of the agreement. This just finalizes the arrangement between the town of Prescott, the township of Augusta, township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, and the city of Brockville, and provides basically that the whole situation be operated as we've been operating it from the pilot stage in August of 2021, I think. And just for the sake of full communication amongst us, I was informed by Mayor Malenka today that the same agreement will be before his council tomorrow night, and he does anticipate, as a result of committee discussions, that they also will be executing the agreement. So, calling the question on first and second reading.
Before we do that.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Just one quick add to your wrap up that we do have the opportunity, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear of this in my mind, is that this carries us to March 31st, but as long as we inform them with written notice before February 28th, we can still opt out should we choose so to the staff.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's a two-edged clause. We must notify them in writing by February the 28th. Either way, either that we will be continuing or that we will not be continuing, but it's a two-edged sword. Okay, calling this question again, unless there are further comments, those in favor, first and second reading. Motion is carried unanimously, I think, Councilor Hunter. Yes. I didn't catch out of the corner of my eye. All right, so you can proceed to third reading then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by John Hunter, that bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute the River Route Transit Service Partnership Agreement. Now read the third time upon the past signed sealed number 2022-61.
Calling the question on third reading, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Right, moving now then to item number 12 on the agenda. Item number 12 on the agenda is the CAO's report. So I think, Mr. Grant, if you proceed to highlight your report or deliver it in whatever manner you see fit, then I'll call the motion to receive your report at the end of the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to update, the clerk has provided me that the actual case management conference, we had an email arrive earlier today, and the date has been set for November 30th. So,
Well, November 30th,
yes,
2 months away.
pretty close.
That's what you call speed with government flavor. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for bringing that forward.
Months, not years, anyway.
That's true. We can put it in 60 days, which maybe sounds a little better, but yes, we are moving off on that timing. Also, not in the report, but I wanted to remind members of council about the Thanksgiving harvest that's taking place at the Healing Place on October 5th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And just a reminder to register by September 30th if you're looking to attend.
And can I just interject there? I know that some of us have already registered and I've done so, but I do have a county council meeting that morning. So if I'm a little tiny bit late, would somebody please express my regrets? I will get there, but it won't be early.
I will, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under economic development, we had Braden Digital over the summer update some photography and video footage, and we certainly used some of that at the international plowing match last week. So we'll certainly utilize that to update the website in the coming months. With respect to Johnstown subdivision plan 1069, so that would be block Racine subdivision. We're just finalizing having an engineer confirm that the drainage works were installed to a satisfactory condition. And once we get that report, we will look to bring that item to committee and council in October. Under building, I just wanted to note that as of September 6th, we have transitioned to certification conservation for the management of the Ontario Building Code Part 8 septic program. Under page 2, treasury, just with respect to council expenses, just a reminder to submit any outstanding 2022 expenses for reimbursement. And just with respect, it's that time of the year when we prepare and submit the raw water supply system budget for 2023 to Greenfield. And I believe that the staff have sent that off to Greenfield for their review and comments. Facilities and recreation, just of note, Spencerville Arena. So the first rental was September 21st. And just a note on staff, did an excellent job with respect to cleanup from the fair and getting the ice surface ready to go by that September 21st date. And that there is a little bit of a social media blitz for both arenas on open ice slots. With respect to Remembrance Day banners, those banners will be going up the first week of October. With respect to operations, public works, line painting for the white and yellow have been completed in the villages of Cardinal, Johnstown, Ventnor, and Spencerville. And Safe Sidewalks Canada has completed the annual sidewalk condition assessment, and we have received that final report. With respect to operations environmental services, just of note that on September 12th, the mayor, deputy mayor, and some of the environmental services staff, along with myself, completed the annual management review for that system and for the industrial park. Page 4, with respect to the windmill pumping station. The new MCC cabinet has been delayed and not anticipated until spring of 2023. So this project has sort of been put on hold until spring of 2023. The contractor had removed the lid on the wet well, and we do have a temporary lid on there, and that has been insulated or if it's not already insulated, it will be completed in the coming weeks to get us by the winter months.
Can the original not be replaced? Lid?
At this stage, they're thinking that the temporary lid will function adequately, and then as soon as that a new lid is there, they'll install that. Preferably, yes, we would have preferred to have that original lid reinstalled.
Get the impression that it suffered damages on.
I anticipate that it may have. It may not just be ready to go back in as easy as it went out, to call it that way. Spencerville wastewater system, just of note in October, we'll look to have the lagoon, the sludge depth in the cells assessed and the report completed. And with respect to the Prescott wastewater treatment joint management board, there's a meeting scheduled for this Wednesday at 5:30 in Prescott. Operations municipal drains, just with respect to the Ferguson drain, the low bid came in about 20,000 higher than estimated, which was about 53,000. And with the restricted acts portion, not able to award, so we will look to we canceled that tender and we'll re-tender next year. Fire department, a couple items coming up is the women's boot camp scheduled for October 8th with 9 participants. And just of note that lately there's been some reports with respect to breathing difficulties using the self-contained breathing apparatus for several weeks post recovery of COVID-19. So it's something that we're monitoring. With respect to fire department training, if you recall, there was the propane firefighting course that was held I guess 2 weekends ago. There was a 4-hour online awareness program, a 1-day classroom theory, followed by one on Sunday, the live fire training scenarios. Also, with respect to upcoming training, we've reached that 5-year point, so we are due to complete our tanker shuttle accreditation testing, and that's scheduled for October 15th. And October is a busy month with respect to that. There's also the EMS boot camp scheduled for October 13th. I guess a final note with respect to emergency management, the control group met on September 13th and completed our annual exercise. And the focus was on initial size up and stabilization of an event, and also included some communication with respect to the United Counties of Legion Granville Emergency Operations Center.
Well, Mr. Grant, I can see that you've been busy, so the floor is open for discussions, questions for Mr. Grant. Councillor Cameron first, the others, Councillor Zillawong.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple, and regarding on page 305 or page 98 of 102, regarding the curbside debris, I'm assuming that that the collection of roadside debris was that garbage, or was it just other quantities of maybe tires or something like that?
So through the mayor, it was a combination, I'm sure, of garbage and some other debris such as tires.
Are we going through the bags if they're garbage to see if there's any identification in them at all, or are we not doing that anymore?
Through the mayor, in circumstances where that's a possibility to look through that those garbage bags, we'll certainly look for some identifiers. However, it would appear that some are getting a little wiser and not leaving necessarily those easily identified markers behind.
Thank you, and Mr. Mayor, I just have one more, and that is regarding the meetings. I see we're meeting on Halloween, October 31st. I certainly understand why, because the week prior to that is, of course, election day. So that's certainly is there any other possible date other than Halloween?
Tuesday.
Maybe the 26th or something along those lines. 25th. I'm just putting that out there. It's just that normally with Halloween it's family time as well. But I'm just putting that out there. But what I don't see, and I would just like to get clarification on it. The tri-council meetings has there been a date set for that yet?
Through the mayor, still looking at trying to find a date. As of right now, we're trying to look at October 12th. So, but
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
nothing fully confirmed as of yet.
That's right.
Still waiting for responses from several members of council.
I believe that from our end, yes, and also I anticipate that the other CAOs are also polling to see what.
Councillor Zillawong.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a little congratulations on the license principal. I was up there last Monday actually, and geez, ice looking good, Mike. So that's an on to the people. And I have the windmill pumping station with that that transmitter that won't affect it. Anything along that through the chair to the CEO? Any safety issues or anything like that? with that transmitter being damaged? It won't be in there.
Transmitter, I think he was talking about.
Level control.
Yeah, transmitter damage. It says water level transmitter was damaged. It's power outage. The water well level transmitter.
Yes, I believe that has been repaired, but Director of Operations confirm that.
Through the CEO to the chair. Yes, that's been repaired. There was an issue with the plant starting the pumps because the level was saying basically they were dry, so the pumps won't start. So they had to get an electrician in, they wired it up so that it would work for a day or two, and then they got another transmitter installed.
Good, so that's done. That's good. And I think, that's it. Oh, no, one other thing too, and I'll leave you some, the training, propane fire, pass it on to the firefighters. I was at that training session and, I was really impressed of the way the propane was going off in a vapor and electric and how they could put it out and these amounts. Very, very impressive in the training. Pass that on to the chief. Thank you.
Councilor Hunter,
Through the chair to our operation manager that brought up the last meeting about getting some gravel at the end of launching at Hardin. I wonder if you get some gravel in there, the operations or facility manager got that.
Through the chair to Councilor Hunter, yes, that was completed on Thursday last week.
Yeah. Couple other things, I'd like to extend a great thank you to our Wendy, our economic development officer. I guess she was that day for all the work she put in getting her demonstration ready for the plowing match. Got lots of great comments about it. Lots of people stopping, looking at all the pictures and things on it. Very well done. Our port manager did a great job at getting a good production up there and showing a good film. We had all kinds of people stopping, looking, asking about the port and inquiry. We got a few inquiries about job opportunities there that kind of made it worthwhile being there. Also to our send thanks to our recreation facility manager on behalf of some of the ones in plowing mats. We provided tables and chairs there. They're to help out and delivered on time and ahead of time. Guess they're ahead of time because they didn't even know they had them. So they're calling looking for them and they're already there. And, but seeing a lot of people looking at our Zamboni there, walking around it. I don't think they ever had a chance to really be close to one to look at. A lot of kids walking around looking at it. And taking it in. So I think our staff needs to be commended on all the work they did for the plowing mats. It was kind of a short notice that they didn't have much time to do it. And I think they got an excellent job on a short time frame. Did excellent. We got all kinds of good comments about it. So all I have to say.
thank you very much. Deputy Mayor.
I just have two quick ones. First, one, Councillor Cameron touched upon the October 31st meeting, and for me, I won't be here for October 31st meeting, so I'm hopeful that there'll be some consideration moving that to November 1st. I think that's, or somewhere in that week. It seems far more appropriate than Halloween. The next one is, and I don't know if anyone else received this. The only reason I received it is Charles Goes to South Edwardsburg School, and it's the information piece, and I'll give it to staff from Coco Paving, and then they gave it obviously to the school board, just about walker safety, about telling kids to wear bright clothing, making sure parents are aware of all of the work that's going to be going on in the area. Where the inquiry actually is, and I made a phone call to the school board to find out in the short term, but if they recognize that children's safety is an issue here, telling them to wear bright clothing. So the reason I called the school board was to find out what the process was to have a walking guard installed for, or a guard installed for the first while this possibly went on, just to make sure that it was an issue, and they're laying it out as a safety concern. And they informed me that that's actually a municipal responsibility. So I guess the inquiry would be, do we have a plan for for safety for the period, around the school up until December 15th?
With respect to a crossing guard, we certainly, that's not something that we had considered, but we can certainly review with the contractor and our consultants and ensure that area is safe for both vehicle and pedestrian travel.
It's good. Except for me. So I'll leave that. Because it's what came home from the school board.
So I have a few questions of my own here, with regard to the report, just mostly for clarifications on my part. So,
I thought we were on inquiries. My apologies for that. Sorry.
yeah, we're still in the CA.
Sorry, I thought we were, I thought we were on inquiries. My apologies for that altogether. So, first of all, with regard to the 2023 raw water supply system budget for Greenfield Global. So I just wanted to thank the treasurer for getting that ready. I know that they expect to receive that budget by September the 30th of every year, and they do cash flow. They build that into their budget, which becomes effective, as I understand it, on January 1, and they build that in right from the beginning. And the most significant part of that budget is the $20,000 a year that we include in that budget to be transferred into a reserve for that raw water lift station. Now, the worrisome part for me, Mr. Grant, comes with the fact that the work has been postponed on the raw water lift station. And I spoke to Mr. Bland about that just recently. I know he's very disappointed, and the question of this cabinet is quite a serious issue with them, but I guess there's nothing that they can do. But have you had any, when I talked to him, I did ask him if it would have any implications on his production on a go forward basis, and he felt not. But have you had any kinds of signals from other folks at Greenfield that they're concerned about this late arrival of this new cabinet so that they can get this raw water station up and running at a higher level?
Mr. Mayor, we certainly staff have met with Greenfield on that. There's no doubt that that's a little bit higher of a risk with that kind of delay. But from the staging process, we think that there's probably going to be a 3-month period, we'll say from January, February to April, where they're going to be ramping up, and we'll have 2 pumps running. The 2 pumps that are there running pretty close to full capacity. We're in the process of securing a rental pump to have on site as a standby with respect to that, because we know that any kind of extended downtime would have a substantial impact. So we're working through that together with Greenfield to look at mitigating some of those risks. But yes, it's a little concerning to have both pumps ramping pretty close to max capacity.
Okay, that's the point that I was trying to get at, and I appreciate you for clarifying it. So in other words, we are putting into place some mitigation measures in order not to impede their production schedule in any way while they wait for those new pumps to be installed in the new infrastructure that supports them. So I won't belabor that point. I just wanted to be clear in my mind. There's a couple of other things I wanted to just get at here. The annual pump testing for the it's hard to realize that it's 5 years since we did this. It's called shuttle service, right?
Tanker shuttle
Tanker shuttle.
accreditation, yes.
I just can hardly believe that it's 5 years that's gone by already. So those are just a couple of my points. Don't think I have anything else, Mark. So, well,
Sort of just before we kind of wrap up, it's with a little bit of mixed feelings, but this meeting will be the last meeting for Treasurer Melanie Stubbs. So we certainly want to acknowledge and recognize all of her contributions over her years of service and wish her the best in future endeavors.
and that was on my mayor's report as well.
Okay.
So thank you.
My apologies for feeling the.
No. Go appropriate, come from both
I
places.
really don't wish you the best, wish you to stay.
Okay, so Councillor Cameron, I'm gonna get you to bring forward the motion to receive the CAO's administrative update.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council receives the CAO's administrative report as presented.
Thank you very much. Gonna call a question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now we'll get to council inquiries or notices of motion. So do you want to go again? or-
No, I've already done.
We'll consider it right here. Consider it done. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you. I'd just like to maybe add on to Deputy Mayor's inquest. I was talking to the foreman today at Coco Paving on that job. I walked over and asked him how everything was going. They're ahead of schedule. It's looking really, really good. So one issue that they can't get the oil and grit separator for the one on Sophia Street. They're hoping to be here by Thursday. They're not really sure, no guarantees. So on the safety way of the school, what they're doing, instead of going up Sophia Street with the buses in the round, they're going off of Mary Street, and the kids are getting off at the far end of Mary Street and then walking to school. So, and then they're just gonna vice versa when Sophia is done. Well, they won't have to because that's the regular route on Sophia. So everything, I was up there picking up grandchildren today, and it seemed like everything that we could use maybe someone out there though, with no question, because the people are parking there too close. I parked down the church and walked up. And that corner of Mary and Second can get congested with the school buses and people, parents trying to pick their children up.
Yes, pickup time, you have to drive past, do a 3-point turn and turn around and get into the lineup. And
Yeah.
Just reminding the members, this is a council meeting. We really shouldn't be dealing with in the weeds here. We bring this up at committee meetings.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other points here? All right, so we're gonna go on. And the next one is the mayor's report. I'm trying to get us out of here in a half a decent time. So the first thing I just want to acknowledge is that I think I have reported it earlier that the construction on County Road number 2 under the rail bridge will commence within the next few days. I think county has approved the final contract, and that will be a complete reconstruction from the top of the hill on both sides of the rail bridge, all the way underneath, both sides torn up. And the public is advised to anticipate possible 3 overnight closures of County Road 2. But those 3 overnight closures will be on 3 separate occasions. And also I wanted to report to council, if I haven't already done that, the Hindman Road Bridge repairs will start probably in the next few weeks. And we're not just exactly sure how that's going to go, but we'll be totally reconstructing the side edges of that bridge. I just wanted to make note, and because nobody else brought it forward, that in our correspondence packages, there was a petition to fix Cedar Grove Road. It was in our September the 9th package, and I'm told that the petition was signed by practically all of the residents on Cedar Grove Road, so I think it's very timely that we had made the decision to take some interim steps. And I think, Mr. Grant, you indicated to us that that would be starting this week. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe, yeah, I believe the Director of Operations had indicated that hopefully within the next day or two, we should be working on Cedar Grove Road.
Right.
Weather permitting.
And I think the report earlier in the meeting was that it was to have started today, but got delayed because of the rain. All right, and next item I just want council to be aware of, the MTO has already signaled that they're doing the preliminary design for the Class A environmental assessment for Highway 401 improvements from basically Highway 416 to Maitland. And part of that, one of the issues that's come up under the preliminary design in the Class EA review is that the bridge that goes over the abandoned railroad track is scheduled to be removed and replaced with a level crossing. Now, Mr. Grant has jumped on this very quickly and signaled to the MTO that we have an interest in seeing that overpass remain. Now, there is additional meetings to be held, and I don't know, Mr. Grant, what our input is into those meetings, but do you have any kind of feelings as to whether or not we're going to be able to succeed in our desire to see that overpass remain? I mean, I think it's important that rail line right away remain open to us. We know that there's pipelines underneath there for one thing.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do anticipate, at least from that last correspondence, that they'll be having some additional meetings later in the fall. So I think we'll once again restate our position with respect to that. And although I think that the representatives from MTO are quite aware of our, the desire to keep that access available.
So I would just flag it to the clerk, then can we make sure that this issue gets included on a couple of committee agendas, please? I'd like to see, I don't want to see this fall apart. Just a recent announcement from the International Joint Commission. As of Saturday, the outflow from Lake Ontario through the Saunders Dam at Cornwall was reduced by 1,000 cubic meters per second in an effort to try to stem the outflow of water from Lake Ontario. That will have the effect of raising the river levels, first of all, closest to the dam at Cornwall, and then slowly raising the river levels back a little bit farther. And I know that a lot of people have been asking me about that. This is a public meeting, why I wanted to report it. Last and certainly not least, wanted to add my acknowledgements to the community development coordinator, the facilities manager, Councillor Hunter, and a number of folks, certainly the port general manager, for the arrangements that were made for us to be represented. And by us, I mean both the township and the port, to be represented at the plowing match. I think the arrangements were excellent, and I appreciate and want to acknowledge those works. And then last, of course, I too want to acknowledge that the treasurer's last meeting, and we do want to wish her well. And while we would love to have her staying with us, we understand her other interests as well. So that's my report, and I would ask that Deputy Mayor Deschamps bring forward the motion.
You have it. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Thank you very much. Those in favor? Yes. Motion is carried. And moving on, it becomes item number 15 on the agenda, which is the question period. So, Mr. Nason, you get one more chance, and then I'll turn to other members of the gallery.
I heard it. Just for the record, if you insist on your title, just stop for me. Prefer Tim. Okay, so. Question to you folks, you just passed a resolution to allocate $17,100 from public works reserve for hot patching along Armstrong Road. Was your understanding that that money was meant to address the residents' concerns about potholes, or was it the, well-discussed issue of road widening that needs to pass?
I'll address the questions at this point. So the understanding was we were trying to address, well, first of all, the feeling was that the total pulverization of Armstrong Road was not in the best interest of the township. That was the first thing. Second thing was we had allocated that amount of money for that purpose. And so following the meeting with the residents, the concept was to try to use that amount of money to address the worst of the patches or the potholes on the road. And as has already been explained, as an interim measure. And hopefully that it would be more than interim, because we did in our meeting with the residents notice that there are some other hot patches that have been applied to sections of the road which seem to have stood up quite well over a number of years, and we're hoping that these will as well.
And do you have any oversight into how those funds are used by staff?
Say again?
Do you have any oversight into how those funds are used by staff, or do they just do what they want?
We've already come to an understanding that the staff will be supplying some sort of a schematic, if I can put it that way, indicating where they feel the most effective and efficient use of those funds should be used. Personally, when I'm doing these kinds of tours around the township, I look for markings on the pavement, and I see them in the villages and places where there's patching about to occur. I see where staff has marked the pavements. I haven't been on Armstrong Road recently, so I don't know whether markings have been added to address that or not, so I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I think it was clear from the discussion earlier that I know it would be to just do one end of the road. So I don't think there are any markings. I haven't seen markings. I guess the good news is that $17,100 buys us about half of the length of that road. So if there was any comfort in the expectation that an equal sum of money would be available next year, then that road could be completely resurfaced with patch. But there is no comfort in that. I don't have any delusions that that money will be forthcoming. So I think well, these aren't
I got to get you to
these
a
aren't
question.
questions. Great.
And just to help you out here, I mean, those kinds of issues will not really come to their fore until we get into the details of our 2023 budget.
Okay, so the question is, with no expectation of further funding available for Armstrong Road, and with complete knowledge that the issue is the drivability of that road for residents, is it reasonable, or does council believe it's reasonable for that funding to be used to repair the potholes and not to be focused on widening areas of the road?
Well, again, it was discussed at the committee, and I think it was the committee's intent that the money would be used to address the worst of the worst sections of the road, if I can put it that way. And they were clearly visible when we met with the residents, but we didn't meet with staff because obviously we assume that staff sees the same thing that we see.
I guess final question through you is that does staff understand that by taking the approach they're proposing, they will be repatching already patched areas for a good deal of that distance, because most of the patching is in the proposed area they are referring to, and that will leave the other half of the road with no remediation whatsoever. Is that clearly understood by staff.
Well, I can't speak for staff and I don't know what their expectations are, so I can't address that question. I mean, then, I think I indicated earlier in the meeting that I wish we had the benefit of a civil engineer to help us out here. And I'm hoping that by the time we get there, we'll maybe have some of that assistance available to us. Thank you very much. Are there other questions from the gallery? Okay, so hearing no other questions from the gallery, I'm going to proceed. Item number 16 is a closed session. We have no closed session this evening. Item number 17 is confirmation bylaw. Councillor Hunter, would you bring
Move
forward?
myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deshna, that a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, number 2022-62.
Thank you very much. The confirmatory bylaw, those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And item number 18 is adjournment, and Councillor Hunter, you adopted as well.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deshna, the council is now adjourned at 8:15 PM.
Thank you very much. Those in favor? Motion is carried.